excellent.
I want to ask you a question, and I want you to see if you can think of an honest answer. When was the last time that you were truly, completely bored? I mean, no phone, no TV, no emails, just sitting there with you and your thoughts. And if you're like most people, the idea of boredom, it's almost extinct. See, we live in a world where we treat boredom like an enemy, something that should just be avoided at all cost. But here's the twist. Boredom may actually be something good for you. And I know what you're thinking, that sounds crazy. But today, I want to talk about why boredom isn't something to escape. It's actually something that can boost your creativity. It can make you more productive. And I believe possibly even change your life. So go ahead and put down your phone, unless you're listening or watching the podcast on it. In that case, just carry on. But eliminate distraction, and let's talk about why doing nothing may be one of the best things that you can do. So welcome to the Mind Your Business podcast, the podcast for whatever business is on your mind. Let's get started.
Well, that's excellent.
Well, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Mind Your Business podcast. I want to sincerely say thank you to every single one of you who watch, listen, tune in, and are a part of growing with me. I really appreciate you being a part of this growth journey. And if this brings value to your life, as always, do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, leave a review, share this with some people that you think would help, because this helps add as much value to as many people as possible. Now, on our last episode, we talked about how to overcome burnout. So if you missed it, go back and check out that episode, because many of us are on the brink or already burned out. It means we've done too much. We've maximized our life with too many things. So this week, I want to talk about the exact opposite end of the spectrum. I want to go to the opposite side, and I want to talk about boredom, because I wonder this personally, and I want to ask you, why do we hate boredom so much? Think about it. If you observe a child from childhood, kids hate to be bored. One of the things that's always fascinating to me with kids especially is right after the holidays, right after Christmas, when the kids have waited for this big day. They've asked Santa, come on, for all the stuff. They've had their list. Santa comes, leaves it under the tree. Everything is unwrapped. They received all the toys and excitement that they had been waiting on. And yet a day after, on December 26th, they will be sitting there staring at a wall, and you can say, "What is wrong with you?" And they will utter those famous words, "I am bored." But as much as that perplexes me as an adult, I understand that we do the same thing. Now, you may not recognize it. You may be going, "I cannot remember the last time that I was bored." But think about when you're waiting in line, or you're sitting in traffic, or even when you go to the restroom. What is it that you do every single time? I'll wait. Just think. You already know. You grab your phone every single time. It's because we don't like to be bored. There have been so many studies of people tracking how our phones are actually a barrier to our boredom. We have taken our phones to fill all of those empty moments of our life, so we never reach boredom. Did you know that the average person actually checks their cell phone 150 times a day? 75% of us can't even go to the bathroom without taking our phones with us. I mean, what would we do? Think about it. What would we do with ourselves if we weren't occupying our brain all of the time? See, this just means that every few minutes, we're reaching for some form of entertainment, whether it's scrolling through TikTok or checking emails or rereading that one text like it's going to speed up the other person's response. Why do we do this? It's because our brains hate being unoccupied. In fact, there was a study where researchers actually put people in a room with nothing to do. They let these people sit there until they reached boredom. However, they had supplied one button right on the table, and if the person were to press the button, it would deliver just a mild electric shock. And this is the crazy thing about what they found. Some people chose to shock themselves rather than to sit there in silence with nothing to do. This is how much we hate boredom, that we will press a button to deliver an electrical shock to ourselves to prevent ourselves from being bored. But the question that I want to explore is this. What if we've gotten it all wrong? What if boredom isn't something to avoid, but something to embrace? What if boredom was something that could actually make us better? So I'm going to look at 3 areas that I believe boredom can actually impact in a positive way. Those are creativity, problem solving, and motivation. So let's talk about our creativity first. Believe it or not, some of the greatest ideas in history came from moments of boredom. Things that have been done in history, things that have been invented, ideas, concepts that have been birthed to life simply because of boredom. You've probably heard the story of Isaac Newton and the apple, right? The guy's just literally sitting under a tree, just hanging out, sees an apple fall and thinks, well, why did that happen? And then boom, we have gravity. Or Albert Einstein, he used to let his mind wander and play around with what was called thought experiments, where his brain just took off and thought for itself. And that led to some of the biggest scientific breakthroughs we've ever had. And my personal favorite, did you know that the idea of the Post-it note came from a scientist who was just daydreaming about glue? He was daydreaming about glue that wasn't very strong. And today, we use Post-it notes for everything. In my office, I have Post-it notes everywhere. Some of you put Post-it notes on your lunch and put it in the refrigerator, and you write on that little Post-it note that says, if you didn't put it here, then it's not yours. The Post-it note, born out of boredom. And science backs this up. This isn't just a theory. See, one particular study found that when people are bored, their brains go into default mode network, DMN, which is just a fancy way of saying that our brains start making unexpected connections. So it's like if your mind was cleaning out the junk drawer in your house and then suddenly found an old gift card with money on it. It didn't know it was there. It wasn't looking for it. But when your brain has an opportunity to explore, oftentimes it finds things that you didn't know was there. In short, boredom creates a space for brilliance. It helps you with creativity. And number 2, it helps you with problem solving. Have you ever had a great idea in the shower? Most of you wouldn't talk about it, but you have. Or maybe you were driving in your car, you were going for a walk, and then suddenly you figured out a solution to a problem that maybe you'd been stuck on for days. To me, this usually happens when I'm in the gym or I'm laying and just trying to fall asleep at night. And the reason that this happens is because when you stop actively thinking about the problem, your subconscious keeps working on it. In other words, it's like your brain's version of a slow cooker. Just because you're not looking at it doesn't mean that it's not doing its thing, that it's not working. So when you disconnect and you let your brain take over, your brain can actually engage in brand new ways. Companies like Google, they have actually built this into their work culture. See, they give employees what's called 20% time. And this basically just is time to work on whatever creative ideas that they want. They have 20% of their time that they have allotted to let their brain take over in creative ways, problem solve. YouTube, Gmail, and even Google Maps all came out of this very concept. So the takeaway here is that if you're stuck on a problem, don't force it. So if you're working in problem solving and you're trying to keep your brain busy, searching for, trying to uncover the solution, just step away from it. Let your mind wander. Let boredom just take over and let it do its job. And then number 3 is motivation. This is another area that I truly believe boredom can actually help you. It can actually motivate you when you are bored and it kicks in. It can actually become a motivator. So let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that maybe when you're really bored, those moments where there's nothing going on, and you just suddenly start thinking about like the big stuff of life? You've asked yourself, am I at the right job? Should I start that side hustle? Is this the time that I should be doing that? Should I take that risk right now? Or why did I ever give up playing that instrument? See, this is because boredom is your brain's way of saying, hey, I need something more meaningful. It's like a built-in life audit. So if you're constantly feeling bored at work, maybe it's time to learn a new skill or take on a new project, or even, let's be real, maybe it's time to find a new job. Boredom isn't just annoying, it's a signal that something needs to to change. Boredom can be motivational. So my question in exploring the boredom and is it good for us is something that I hope you're starting to question for yourself and wonder, wow, could I actually use a little more boredom in my life? Because the ultimate question is, how do we use boredom to work for us instead of against us? Instead of wasting our time throwing our mind into useless places, I want to offer 4 ideas that I think we can employ in our life and use boredom to our benefit. And so here's the first thing I would tell you to do with your boredom or to maximize it and use it for yourself is to schedule nothing time. Schedule nothing time. Now, I know this sounds backwards. This sounds like the reason that you're bored is because you have nothing to do. But I'm talking about intentional nothing time. See, I'm challenging you to do this. Take 10 to 15 minutes and do absolutely nothing. 10 to 15 minutes, disconnect, no phone, no TV, no music, and no productivity. And I get it. It's going to feel weird at first. You're going to feel super awkward. Your brain's going to start screaming at you. What are we doing here? Grab your phone, check your notifications, go do something productive because we have trained our brains not to enter the place of boredom. But if you push through, you'll notice something really amazing begins to happen. Around minute 4 or 5, your mind will start taking over and it begins thinking for itself. You may start thinking about a creative idea, or you may think about a problem that you need to solve, or even just something funny that happened years ago that you'll find is coming to the forefront of your brain. And when this happens, you've allowed space, opportunity for your brain just to do what your brain does. It can begin connecting dots, it can begin organizing thoughts, and it can begin sparking brand new thoughts and ideas. See, we talked about it earlier, that some of history's biggest breakthroughs, they all came from boredom. Newton, gravity, bored under a tree. Einstein's thought experiments, bored while working at a desk. Did you know the invention of Velcro? A guy was literally just walking his dog and noticed burrs sticking to the dog's fur. And now today we have Velcro just out of a moment of boredom. Boredom leads to breakthroughs, but you have to give yourself the space for it. So challenge yourself, maybe this week, 10 minutes a day for a week, just sitting in silence and just see what happens. I know you're thinking there's nothing in me that wants to do that. There's no way I can do it. But challenge yourself to give yourself some space to let your brain do what it does best. The second thing I would tell you with boredom, to embrace it and use it, is to limit distractions. Limit distractions. Now, this is going to be one of the most challenging things for most of us to do because the number one distraction that we have is what? You guessed it. It's our phones. Now, I'm not here to tell you to go live in a cabin in the woods and give up technology forever. I'm not saying that our phones or technology is the enemy. But what I am saying is that we need to be intentional about when and where we let our devices take over our lives. We talk to our kids about this. You're on the phone too much. You're on the devices too much. Put them down. Well, adults, we need to do the same thing. So here's the challenge. Pick one daily activity where you normally reach for your phone and don't do it. Whatever you would find yourself doing, where you would maybe almost enter a space of boredom, but you grab that phone to prevent that from happening, just don't do it. For example, when we're waiting in line, just stand there. When most of us wait in line for something, what are we doing? We're scrolling. You watch people. When they're sitting in their car with nowhere to go in traffic, what are we doing? We're scrolling our phones. When you're eating lunch, if you eat lunch alone, most people scrolling their phone. Don't scroll, just enjoy your food. And then come on, many people watch them leaving the office, walking to the car. They're checking the email, they're watching their notifications. Don't do it. Put your phone in your pocket and just take in the moment. We don't need to feel every single moment of boredom with our phones. In fact, when we put our phones down, we actually start noticing more about the world around us. We connect with what's happening in the world around us. So try this. Create one tech-free zone in your day. because this will help you limit how often you actually pick up that distraction. And again, it's not that the technology is the enemy, but you want to embrace a moment of boredom so that you can become more creative, so that you can become more productive. So create a tech-free zone just to help make it easier to do that. So maybe it's your morning time. Most people reach for their phone the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning. So maybe for the first 15 minutes after you wake up, just know it's a phone-free zone. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to let my mind settle in the day. I'm just going to go with the morning, and I'm not going to fill my brain with something right from the start. Maybe it's at dinner time. Maybe at the dinner table. Don't bring your phone. Whatever it is, just pick one place where your phone doesn't come with you. And I know this sounds small, but it's powerful. And your brain will start to rewire itself to be more observant. It'll become more reflective. And ultimately, you may even become more creative if you can embrace distraction-free moments where you let your brain take over in a moment of boredom. And the third thing I would tell you is to use boredom as a check-in. Use boredom as a check-in on your personal life. See, boredom isn't just a creativity tool. We've talked about creativity and problem solving, but boredom can actually be a signal in your life. Have you ever been bored out of your mind at work and just thought, man, is this really what I want to do for the next 10 years? Just looking around in the cubicle that you're in, on the job site, the people you're working with, and you thought, I just don't know if I want to do this for the next 10 years. Well, that's not just boredom that's taking over your moment. That's your brain actually nudging you to rethink some things in your life. See, boredom is like an internal check engine light. It's telling you that something in your life may need a tune-up. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that in every boring moment of your day, it means you need to quit your job and go start a llama farm or something. I'm just saying that if you find yourself feeling consistently bored at work or even in your personal life or with your goals, it may be time to ask some bigger questions. So ask yourself questions like, am I growing in this particular area of my life? So in your job, as you sit there and you consider what you do every day and the difference that you're making and the people that you're working with, and if you feel like this unsettling in you and you're just bored to death every day, well, ask yourself, am I growing? Because that boredom may be nudging you that it's time for a new challenge. So ask yourself, do I need a new challenge in my life? Do I need to try to do something that I've never done before? Or even what's something that you've always wanted to try, but you never made time for? You never let yourself reach the place of boredom so that you could go try something new. See, boredom isn't the enemy. Boredom is an opportunity. It's your mind's way of pushing you toward change. So the next time you feel stuck in boredom, don't just distract yourself. Ask yourself, is this a sign that I need to do something more? Maybe your boredom is nudging you to grow and to get better and to try something brand new in your life. So don't treat boredom like the enemy. Treat boredom like the secret weapon that can actually enhance the life that you're living. So the next time you're actually bored, instead of reaching for your phone or you're zapping yourself with electricity, because I certainly don't suggest anyone do that, just embrace it. Embrace the boredom. Let your mind just wander. Let your mind do what your mind wants to do and just see where it takes you, because who knows? Your next great idea, your next great adventure, your next maybe growth area in life may come from doing absolutely nothing. So today, I want to encourage you, give yourself time to be bored. You never know the difference that it may make in your life and in the future that you have to come. And if today's episode brought value to your life, do me a favor. I want you to like, subscribe, share, leave this review wherever you're listening to your podcast, because that's going to help me greatly. So go, be bored, and be better for it. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Mind Your Business podcast.